There we go.
Okay. So previously when you stated tonight's winning lottery numbers, that wasn't recorded.
No, that part didn't get recorded. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create that next organizational member type. So we're going to do subscriber quarterly, right? Or monthly?
Quarterly.
Subscriber quarterly. Okay, and then we're going to say subscriber quarterly members.
Employees,
thank you.
I'm
keeping me on track.
keeping on track, that's it.
That's right. Okay, so this is quarterly, and I should just be able to set this up. One membership period is defined as 4 months.
3 months.
Is that
3 months?
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. And how much is this how much are these dues?
$297.
$297. And we can change this to 50. We can link up our there we go. And then I'm going to just set this to the member landing page, so that's what they'll log into. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. So that one's good. Now we want to do monthly, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have our subscriber monthly and employees. Save. Now you'll notice there's this attribute-based pricing as well. So that would be if there was something in the system, like maybe if one day you decide to break it into like silver, bronze, platinum members or something like that, you can tell the system, like you can create an attribute, and then you can tell the system, okay, if they're a gold member, like maybe they get some additional benefits or something, then they'll charge, then you can charge them based on that attribute a higher price than if they're a silver member, and that would be an attribute-based pricing. So that's just another thing that we're able to do as well.
So now there are like a la carte individual things people can select and order, like if they want to get on-site training or something.
So I'm thinking that would be part of a form, something that they could choose in a form and say, yes, I want on-site training,
Okay.
and then it'll just calculate how much that would cost in the form. So it would just be like a one-time payment. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll show you how we can set that up. So this is based off of 1 month.
We may want to have a shorter grace period. It's only a month to start with. I think it's like 10 days.
That sounds perfect. That sounds like a great idea.
And they can have 50 for $99.
Okay. And then something else that we might want to peek at is, when is that first renewal email going out for these monthly?
I think that got set up for 10 days, I think. Yeah,
so
10 days.
Do you want it to be 10 days or do you want it to be less days?
It goes out 10 days before
the expiration date.
So then the 10 days before the end of the grace period would be the end of the term. And then I think that works.
Okay, so just leave it as is.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Good.
Okay. Now, were there any other miscellaneous member types we needed to create? I know you mentioned like a trial.
Well, I need to have 2 more. One would be, because we just like 2 days ago struck an agreement with another group for joint membership, so I'd have to have a way to accommodate that arrangement.
Okay.
So you could put in subscriber / pardon me, subscriber / capital NA, capital A, capital D.
Say that one more time for me. Subscriber /
NAAD, all caps. Yep.
Okay, and then these would be employees as well.
Yep.
And so that's, you said, is a joint.
Yeah, so they would be selling selling ours, we'd be selling theirs as a discounted package.
Nice. Okay.
And those would all be 1 year.
Okay.
And 50, what do you call it? Profile.
$50 profile.
Not $50, no. It's 50. What do you call those characters? Profiles.
Yeah.
And the price is $800.
Okay.
And then the last one, I would want to have the ability to have a complimentary subscription.
Okay. We can do that. Now, we're going to do subscriber complimentary, and then I'm thinking that you might want to monitor who, like you might want to approve this one before somebody can just be complimentary.
Yes.
So I can just toggle this on, and
Okay.
for any new members, they'll require approval.
Okay. And getting it for free has to be approved. Yes, that's a good thing.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. And if they end up not needing to be in that complimentary, then what we can do is create an ad hoc invoice. Like you can go back to them and say, hey, you were not complimentary. You're like, by looking at what you need, once you get in touch with them and figure out what they do need, then you can create an ad hoc invoice. You can change their member type and create an ad hoc invoice, charging them for what they should be paying.
Okay. You can change their classification, if you will.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And we can do that from the profile list. Like if we go to their profile in those system attributes that we looked at, you can just edit the member type. We can walk back through that again.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And so up to 50, and then it's all $0.
Right. Right.
They'll still receive an invoice when it comes to the renewal period. And I would add in like maybe some additional verbiage on this one saying, since you're complimentary, you have a $0 invoice, but they still need to have that $0 invoice and walk through almost like the process of paying it in order to renew their membership period.
Okay.
Okay.
So now, if we wanted to make anybody else, if we want to make any more, we just keep adding these.
That's exactly right. What you have now is already, a good number. I wouldn't do too many more than that just because I think it can start to get a little bit messy. But if you have somebody who decides they want to pay bi-yearly or, something like that, if it's just one person, I would just maybe ad hoc invoice them, like put them in complimentary and maybe ad hoc, just so send them. But if it's multiple people, like if it's a lot of people who are demanding it, then I would create a new member type.
Well, yeah, not everybody's going to get it for free, I'll tell you.
Exactly.
So now, who work with me, do I have to classify them as subscribers, or do they get access through admin?
Say that one more time.
The people who work with me, like Michelle.
Uh-huh.
No, are they admin, or do we have to create a classification, if you will, because I have the expert advisors who work with me ad hoc. So if we have an engagement, that they get to do the consultation, but they would also want to have. I'd also want them to have privileges, as if they were subscribers, so that they would be on the list for the distribution list for notices and for the newsletter, and they could get onto the website and so forth, and they got to get onto the community site.
But they would not. They would not be paying. I'm sorry. They would not be paying dues. Is that right?
Correct.
So I would just put them in the admin category.
Now, admin rights, getting onto the website, are all admins equal?
Yes and no. So here, these are. I know it's like sort of. So these are our, and I I think we might have actually gotten into this. So these are our different member types. And for every member type that's created, there's also a group that's created. So groups, so member types control how much your members pay and how long their membership year is, or how long their membership with you in general is.
Right.
Groups, on the other hand, handle permissions in the system. So when we went through content yesterday, we had to set the group permissions. Technically, it means member type because they're the same as your member types, but we call them groups because that's handling permissions. Now, this is where things can get a little wonky. As a member, I can only be in one member type, so I can only be one of these things here. However, I can be in multiple groups.
Okay.
So looking at your group permissions, it's called admin permissions, but it means group permissions. These are all of the groups that we have. So these are all of the member types, and then there's this admin.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You and Michelle have total access to the back end because you're ASAs, which is which I just call that a super admin. You have full ability
Okay.
to access anything on the back end. If you want to create additional admin status people, we can add additional people into the admin member type.
Like we did with subscribers.
Yes, exactly. And then we can toggle all of this on. So we can give them permissions to everything on the back end, those additional admin characters, or if you only want to give them particular permissions on the back end, then we can do that. Each of these stand for something a little bit different. And different permissions to different tabs. So reporting admin, they can access all of this reporting information stuff. And that would be all that they could get to. Profile admin would have responsibilities for updating and taking care of admins. Now, if you have some different admin characters and you want them to each have different permissions, almost like maybe you have a treasurer who can only deal with financial stuff and can access the financial portion.
Right.
Or maybe you have somebody who's in charge of like the contact center, contacting and sending emails. We can create different groups and we can add your members to each of those different groups. And they're not technically member types.
Okay, but you're still having subordinate forms of admin.
Yes.
Okay. Well, however you'd want to do that, we need to do that.
The people that you want to be admins, so do you want them to have all the same accesses to the back end?
No. See, because the people who are, well, there are those of us who actually manage the business, and there are others who are the experts we have on our team who do all the consultation. I would want them, well, see, I want them to be able to have the same access as a subscriber. So maybe I don't need to make them admins, but I need to have a way to fit them in there. And no, they don't pay any subscription, of course, but I want them to be able to have the same access to the subscriber-facing side as a subscriber would have.
Awesome. So in that case, yeah, I would just go ahead and add them in as admins. We can give them no permissions on the back end.
Okay.
But they'll still have login credentials to log in to the front end.
Okay, but then on the administrative side, if you will, I'd have to be able to distinguish between the people. We're going to have somebody handle the books. We're going to have somebody else handle marketing who'd also need to get access to a variety of things, within the admin side. And in each case, it would be a subset of what, let's say, Michelle and I could do.
Gotcha. So if you'll send me a list of the people that you want added in, do you have like a list of the people and their information?
I could send it to you, sure, but can you take a screenshot of that screen right there so I'll know which categories to tell you?
Yes, of course. And what I was going to say is you can just also describe their roles, and if you'll describe their roles in the form that you send over, then on our next training I'll go ahead and put them all in, and we can review what permissions I gave them and why I gave it to them.
Okay.
So I can take care of all that work on my end for you.
Oh, thank you.
Of
Can I hire
course.
you? I pay you, but I can hire.
That's so funny. I know. Okay, I'm sending this to you now.
You know, you could just rent yourself out for make a lot of money just doing this for people. Saying, I'm gonna take care of your member clerk's website. If you give me, $1,000 an hour, you can quit your regular day job.
I'll do what I'm doing, but I'll just do it in my own schedule.
There you go.
I like it. Okay, what did I just do with that screenshot? There it is. Awesome. I mean, we know how important it is. Like, you guys have such little time on your hands, so we never mind doing this kind of stuff. Okay, I'm struggling over here. Screenshot. What's today? I can't even figure out how to attach a. Today's the 26th.
All your little icons on the bottom down there, you can't even figure which is which.
I know. That's exactly how I feel. Let me put this in my helpful screenshots folder. And now 10/26 is today's date. Is that it? That's it.
Little teeny version, it looks like it.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I'm just going to say admin permissions. There's a document that I used to send, but we just changed our help center, and so all of the links that I used to have that I would send out have changed. So I'm going to have to go back through the help center and re-find those links to those different resources. But when I find it, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
In fact, I might just be able to search on it. It looks a little bit different, but it looks a lot better than what it used to. Search. I think it was a.
Well, that's the manual, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let's say processing renewal. We used to have a search function. There it is. This is called admin permissions. It used to work. Did I spell it wrong? I did. There we go. Admin permissions. What is it?
It's the right question again.
There we go. Awesome. So this will tell you if you want to know what each of those categories means, like CMS admin. Like, I don't even remember what that means. There's a lot that goes to it. So this will tell you what each of these categories are responsible for.
Okay.
But
so on your website.
Yes, it's on our website, but I'm including this link in here in the email I'm sending you.
So is there a login on the website so they can every time Beck and Harry calling in there? Or do we have to use like a subscriber?
To get to this part of the website?
Yeah, to get to the help side.
All you have to do is so the only people who can contact our help team would be you and Michelle, since y'all are the ASAs. That's another special superpower of ASAs. But if you ever want to get to that help center, anytime you're on the back end, all you have to do is press this question mark and it'll take you there.
Ah, okay.
And then you always want to go into MemberClick's documentation. This classic documentation is our previous product. You're on our new product.
Okay.
So it's this big center one. And then this is going to take you to videos, articles, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. So we can kind of determine that on our next call. Okay, so let's get into, now that we've got your member type set up, let's get into building a form. Does that sound good? So I went ahead and started building your subscriber form. If we wanted to create a new form, so right now I'm under Forms and Form List. All I would have to do is create new form, select this. From here, I'd be able to put in the form name. We can put in the form description if we want to, but that's not necessary or mandatory.
Okay.
And then we have these two checkboxes down here, but this actually, gives me 4 different options. We can use this form for membership only. So that means it's a membership application, or in your case, a subscription application.
Uh-huh.
We can use this as an event registration form only.
Okay.
So that'll be for future events. We can use it as both, so it can be a membership application and it can be event registration. Or we can use it for neither. Neither would be like surveys or donations.
Ah, okay. All right, I'm thinking now. If we have a form, in each case, the form, of course, gathers the same basic information,
Mhm.
who you are and all that stuff.
Mhm.
If we were using the form for a subscription, you'd have the subscription options. If pardon me, if the form were used for a sponsorship or an advertiser, you'd want to have a different set of pricing choices. And if it were for, yeah, okay, so those are the two situations there. If you had a registration form, that would probably gather different information and be specific to the event. You follow me?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Um, a membership is going to read what member type they choose, and that's what's going to be able to determine their dues payments or the subscription fees.
Yeah.
And
So
then everything else event would be based on the event pricing that we could input. And then like donations would be just an empty box that we could give them where they could put in how much money they want to donate, and this, a survey would just be, no payment, just basic questions.
and of course, also there would be the extra additional services order form. So so you have your subscription, your sponsorship or advertiser, you'd have your event registration, and you'd have your additional services order.
That's exactly right. So additional services would be neither membership or event registration.
Correct.
And so I just saved this, and it's just going to create this form for me.
And I would need to give you the list of what's on that list.
Do you have that in front of you?
Yes, I can get it.
Okay, let's do the membership or the subscription form first, and then if there's time, we can get to that additional services one.
Okay.
So sponsorship would be
Sponsor advertiser. Turn that thing
holy
around.
cow, I know. Sponsor, goodness gracious, advertiser.
Right.
And this would be used for sponsors to come in, fill out their information, and then you would sponsor them, or they're sponsoring you?
If you're going to be a sponsor, you get certain things. If you're going to be an advertiser, so it would be a matter of not necessarily today, but at some point filling in the prices for advertising and sponsorship and so forth.
Okay, that makes sense.
So today we're just setting up the form types. We're not necessarily, setting the content of the form in stone.
Okay. I did want to go ahead and, if it's okay with you, set some content for maybe the subscription form. Is that fine?
Yeah, that would be really handy. Yeah.
Okay.
So the fourth one. The fourth one is event registration.
Okay. Registration.
Yeah.
Whew, almost. There we go. Now, when I create these, this is just pre-formatting my forms. The form is made up of a couple of different sections. The body itself can either be like an event section, a membership section, or a general section. But if I messed up that first part of setting what kind of form it is, I can still fix it when I go into the form itself, and I'm going to show you how we can do that.
Okay.
So right from here, we can take this form, which is a way for you to see the form on the front end. When the forms have been built out, I am going to have you test all of these forms, and I have some special instructions that go along with it, just to make sure that all of the fields look the way that you want them to for your subscribers.
Okay.
You can edit a form, and that's what we're going to do here in a second. We can delete as long as there are not any submissions of the form. So the second somebody submits a form, you cannot delete that form anymore.
So if I wanted to make a new version of the form, I'd have to rename it.
Right. So you can just copy it. Like a lot of people do this for their events. Like you may have like Conference 2016. And so you have all of your registrants for that. And now you want to create one for 2017. You don't have to start from scratch. You can just copy the event form.
And rename it.
Rename it. And then you can go in and make edits to the copied version, since there are no submissions for the copied version of the form.
I gotcha.
Okay. So right now we're going to edit this subscription form. I'm just going to click Edit. And now you'll notice we've kind of got a left and a right column. The left column is going to be our form builder, settings, and creating properties. So over here on this left-hand side, this is what we're going to be doing to make our form happen.
Okay.
The right-hand side is going to be how the form will look to your users. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit prettier than this, but this is the general way of how it will appear to your subscribers.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
If I want to treat the 4 things we just built as templates that I would copy to use in the future, should I append the word template to each of these form names?
You could definitely do that, yes.
And then just copy it as it is and use it as it is, but rename that to Subscribe 2016, for example.
Yes, absolutely.
That might make sense. That that way I would know what I'm looking at.
Okay, so what we can do is just well, we can do that for each of. I'll do that for each of these, so I can come in here and edit. And the form name as it appears to you is this. So this is what it looks like to you, but that's not what the members or the subscribers see on the front end.
Right.
What they'll see on the front end is whatever's in these little tabs.
Okay.
So in this case, we have a login section. This will pop up first. You do have the ability to turn this login section off, but then the form's going to be submitted anonymously. And that's not going to tie any of the information to the member's profile. So it makes most sense to always leave this login section on.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of going over the main bodies of what makes up the form. So the next area that we have is the membership body, since this is a membership or subscription application. Now, I want to change this word because it doesn't apply to you.
Right.
So if I want to change this title, all I have to do is click on Properties for this whole body section, and you'll notice Membership pops up here. We're going to change this to Subscription.
Okay.
Maybe Subscription Application.
Okay.
So this is our body that we're going to build out, and this is where we're going to drag all of our elements into to create the information that we're asking for from our subscribers.
Okay.
So we're going to get to that here in a second. Now we have a summary section, which is this area here. The summary section is just going to pop up right once they've completed all of the fields on the form and going to give them a summary of everything they've completed and the answers that they filled out.
Okay.
We can enable it. We can disable it and enable it.
Okay.
So if we want to change the properties for this, we would just come to this section of the form. Properties is what we would select, and then it would show us. Right now it's not on. We can turn it on by toggling.
Okay.
And then as we add the form elements, we can, or the form fields, we can edit what shows up in the summary.
Okay. What I'd like that to do then is to show them what they entered so that if they say, oh, I got my zip code wrong, they can go back and fix it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. After our summary section, we have this payment section. And these collapse and expands, they just either expand or collapse the section as you're building, so it maybe isn't so messy as you're working on it.
Okay.
This payment section we can't change anything in. However, we will always need to set up what your payment processor is that you're using and what invoice template that you're using.
Okay.
You also have the option to allow your subscribers to pay now with their credit card only, or if you want to give them the option to pay later with a check, you can enable pay later with invoice.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
This will always say $100. This is just an example on the back end. This will populate with the amount of money they owe according to their dues through their member type.
Okay.
And then lastly, we have this confirmation section. So once they've completed the form successfully, this is going to pop up, and it's going to say, thank you, your form has been submitted successfully. We can change this verbiage if we want to. And then we also have the ability to set up a confirmation email. I love this confirmation email because you can recap some of the info by using our data merge tool. So I can go to merge data, and I can merge it directly from the form itself. So I can add in what their submission total was.
Okay.
I can add in um, la 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 la. We can add in the submission date. We can add
Okay.
in their name, their member type that they chose, stuff like that, and you can BCC yourself on this.
Okay.
So the reason you might want to do that is just so you know how many, new subscribers you're gaining, and you can
Oh,
kind of monitor it a little bit.
so back where you had the uh, thank you note, you could say a confirming email will be sent to your to your to the address listed on the form.
That's exactly right. So we could come into this edit confirmation page,
Uh-huh.
and you could say, whatever verbiage you want to add in here. This is just that WYSIWYG editor that we looked at yesterday. So you want me to add that verbiage in for you?
Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you. Just
Yeah.
an email. We will. Yeah, you know what I gotta say.
We can say we will be.
We will send you. Yeah, we will send you an email confirming the details of your subscription shortly.
Awesome.
There. Now, then they know they're going to get it, as well as having seen what they just did. So that kind of gives you the. Then it's sort of, to them it also says, okay, the system has acknowledged me. Now I know what's happened.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, great. So now coming back up here to the top,
Right.
there are a couple things that I always set up first and foremost.
Uh-huh.
So first, I always want to publish. My form, just because I can't tell you how many times I've created forms for people, and then they're like, it's not showing up, and it's because I forgot this one thing. So if you go to properties for the whole section, so at the login section, or really, if you go to any of these properties, you can get to the same place. You'll just go to form settings.
Uh-huh.
So these are
Oh,
general form settings, and we can publish the form.
okay. So if you just leave that alone, then whatever you do will take care of itself. Or does this have to be turned on for every time?
It has to be turned on for every, no, it just has to be turned on for every form. Once it's turned on, the form is good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, but every time you create a new form, you'll have to turn this publish form toggle on.
So for each of these 4 templates, you got to do that, and then for each of the copies we make, we have to do that.
Yes, every time you copy a form, I don't think that it saves that. I think it just goes back to default of not being published.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to enable the form expiration dates, so we won't use this for like a membership or a subscription form because it won't expire, but if you have an event, you would want to use that for this.
Okay.
We talked about the alias, I think, yesterday when we talked about content. So alias is just going to be what pops in after that /, and
Okay.
that's the URL.
Okay.
Now this is, and I don't, oh, I remember why. So then we have some general form permissions. So remember, permissions are set by groups. So you're going to see this word group, but it's the same basically as your member type. So who can see this form? Anybody can.
Okay. This is C as opposed to manage the form.
Say that again.
This is who can see it as opposed to who can edit it.
Right. This is just who can see it.
Okay.
We can create date-based pricing. So if you have an event and if they register like early, like maybe 3 months early or something, we can do early bird specials.
Okay.
Or if somebody's registered late, we can do a late registration price.
Okay. And these would all be things you would fiddle with after you copied the template to a specific purpose.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. We can add a discount code. We cannot use discount codes for membership applications, though.
Right.
And then this forward URL is like the second they hit submit on the form, it'll take them to any URL that you put in here. If you don't put in a URL, it's just going to take them right back to that, I think, to your home page of the website.
Okay. Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so those are those general form settings. So we've published our form. That looks great. So the next thing we want to do is begin looking at the body of the subscription application. So we have a couple of other things that we need to set up here. The first one is we need to choose what member types are able to join. So that means who can take this application.
Okay.
Whoops, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong area. So member type, who can take this application?
It would be admins and the bottom four. Everybody except complimentary.
Hold on a second. I'm getting twisted. Available member types. This is not right. Sorry. These are the these are the member types that your new people can choose to be. I'm sorry. I apologize. So, in your case, if I came in to be a new member, I'm going to be given a drop down. What member type, would you like to be? Do you want to be complimentary, full year, monthly, NAAD, or quarterly?
Be the bottom four.
Okay. Now, can't they choose to be complimentary, but you have to approve it before they can actually be complimentary? Or do you want to be the person who just puts those people in manually?
I would do it that way. That way, well, how come I can't be complimentary?
That makes sense. That makes total sense. Awesome. So we've set that up. So that is just who they can choose to, like what member type they can choose to be in the drop down.
Right. In fact, before I forget, on the NAAD one, I need to be able to approve that one too, just like complimentary, because it's only restricted to certain people.
Okay, we can definitely set that up in those account settings.
Okay.
And so then this is for membership renewal options. Probably 100% of your membership renewals will be done through the invoice that they get and the renewal notifications. However, if for some reason somebody wants to come in here and retake a form for renewal, they can do that technically.
Okay.
So that's just what this area is. So then the next thing that we're going to look at.
Hey, Adrienne, can you make automatically renew the default setting?
So we want all of these people to automatically renew.
Yes. That's kind of the way we're setting it up. So unless you tell us not to, we will consider it'll just run.
We definitely can do that. Automatic renewals, though, we're going to take a little bit of additional. I think we talked about this. Did you tell Hart that you're doing automatic renewals?
I think so.
There's like some additional fees that are involved in a little bit of extra paperwork.
Okay. Then I don't remember any extra paperwork, so maybe I didn't talk to her about it.
I'm going to let her know.
So now, in this case, if the automatically renew would be something that the people would check. As it's set up right now, the subscriber would check that when they subscribe, right?
Yes, we can give them that option. However, we can also go into the member type settings and we can set it up that way. So if I go into like subscriber quarterly, I go to edit settings and I come down here. I think what I can do is I'm pretty sure I can set it up in here. Regular, no, maybe I can't. Maybe that's just for individual member types.
Okay.
Let me think through that with Hart. Okay, so Hart said she's going to send you the second page to get you to sign it. So maybe I have to do that for organizational on the, I haven't set it up for automatic renewal for organizations. I've only done it for individuals. So I guess that would just be through the form. But I think there's a way where I can, there's a way I can say you have the option to be automatic or you have to be automatic. And if you want your members to have to be automatically renewed, I think that's through here. I'll look back through that on my own and I'll get that set up correctly.
Okay. But if we had it defaulting to auto, they could always uncheck it.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's fine. That's the way I'd like to do it then. Just have it default to auto on, and then they can uncheck if they don't want it.
Okay, that works. So now getting back into...
Yeah, now that I totally sidetracked you.
No, you're fine. These questions are good. I mean, I'm the kind of person where I would forget my question if I moved on to the next thing. So I prefer...
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing, yeah.
I would prefer to just address it as we go. So yeah, they have the option to choose whether they're going to be automatically renewing or not.
Okay.
Okay, so next we're going to collect information in two different sections. So we have the organization section, and then we have the individual section. So this is the information on the company. This is the information on the individual that's like registering the company. You can also create linked profiles from here. So it'll be easier to see what that looks like on the front end, and we'll walk through that process together. But if I'm a company and I'm the person registering the company, I'm the key contact, I'm signing up, and then I'm creating linked profiles, then it'll
Right.
basically give me the same information that I'm asking for the individual in this area. It's going to give me the same information under this create linked profile view. So if we ask for name, birth date, stuff like that for linked profiles, it's going to ask for the same info. And I'll be able to fill that out as the key contact registering the company.
Okay.
So the next thing that we can do here is start adding our form elements. So to do that, I'm just going to come in here to add form elements, which is my second tab at the top. And you'll see some familiar things such as built-ins. So these are the built-in attributes.
Right.
Custom attributes, so those are those custom things we've created.
Right.
Now, form fields are those same different things that we saw when creating our attributes, but now instead of collecting it and saving it into the profile, this would be a piece of information that you want to collect in the form, but not necessarily tied to the member's profile.
Okay.
Things like for an event, what kind of sandwich do you want for lunch? Turkey, ham,
Right.
veggie, that kind of stuff. You don't need that in the member's profile.
Correct. Okay. So that will be something coming up at another form. Okay.
Right, and then presentation is going to be our last category, and it's exactly how it sounds. It's just how the form will look. These are presentation items. You'll also notice that here's our event section and here's our general section. So I mentioned beforehand, if you forget to check either of those boxes when you're creating the form to begin with, this is where you can like, oh, I forgot that this is also supposed to be an event form. We can just grab our event section and throw it in here.
Oh, look what you did. Okay. Just drag and drop.
That's all we're going to do to create our form. General section, that would be like if we didn't check either of those boxes, it's not going to have any kind of section to put anything in. So that's when we would need to grab this general section and we would drop it right in here.
Okay.
Okay.
So now, that menu of element names or fields or whatever, those are fixed. You can't add or change or.
No, these are all now. If we wanted to collect, like this says text.
Yeah.
I mean, we can change how this appears. So we can say, how did you hear about us?
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and that's how we would change that.
Okay.
So aside from like on the organization side of things, what kind of information do you think you would want to collect on the organization?
The basics. Where are the name, the name, the physical address, phone number, the email, the contact name and email, phone number.
Okay. So what I did is I know that address is a built-in, so I came to my built-ins. Now here's a little tip that it took me a while to figure out. Anytime you see this little man's head next to a field, this means that it's collecting the information and it's going to store it in their profile.
Okay.
If you don't see it, that means it's not saving it in their profile. So I just added and dropped in address. We can make this required just by toggling on required.
Yes.
If you didn't want all of your member types to be able to see this, like if you only needed to collect this information from one member type, then you can just select that one member type. In this case, you need it on all.
Yeah.
But just to show you, you can limit who can see the different fields.
Okay.
So we've added address. I know that it's now required because I added this little asterisk.
Okay.
Now you mentioned phone number, so I'm going to come back into my built-ins. I'm going to drag phone right into the field. And this is going to be the organization's phone number. Do you want this to be required?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just toggling this on. You'll see the red asterisk. Built-ins, we're going to want email.
Yep.
Grabbed and dropped. We've made this required.
Okay.
Form elements,
So you need a contact name.
contact name. We'll maybe want that one up here, right?
Right.
Okay, make it required. Okay. Form
And
element. Any of these custom company information?
yeah, you want to put in, anything, a description of your company business.
Okay, so what we can do is I can grab this custom attribute because it sounds like we're asking for the same information, but we want it worded a little differently.
Right.
So we can say, please describe your company.
Yes. Describe your primary business.
Okay. Now you'll notice all of these have an export name. We can
Okay.
export all of these form submissions into an Excel document. The export name will be the column header on the Excel document.
Okay.
So we can add this, please describe your primary business. And then do you want a company logo?
Not on the application, no.
Okay. So now we want to add or grab some information on the individual. So it's probably going to be those same built-ins, but instead of this being in the organization's profile, it's going to be in that individual's profile.
Can you change that heading to say additional contacts and make it not required?
I cannot because, I mean, we can change the way it is labeled, but it has to be required because you cannot create an organization without there being at least one person attached to the organization.
Okay.
Because an
Oh,
organization it's not a person, it's just a thing. So there has to be at least one person who can manage that thing. And the person who manages the thing is the key contact.
okay, so then we probably would put the contact information in here and not up above where we put it. 'Cause I wouldn't want to have somebody entering their name and all that twice.
I understand. So we would want to just delete the contact name.
Yes.
Now the rest of this information though we do want to collect because the organization's information may be different. Like the organization may have their own address, their own phone number, their own, now the email would need to be shared with a key contact because this is where those invoices are going.
Correct.
So we still want to collect all this info, but then down here we want to collect the info that's individual specific.
Right. Right.
So probably address again.
Yes.
Probably email
Email.
again.
Yeah, and phone. Yeah. Does it have to say home?
It does not.
I don't want anybody to think we're getting creepy.
Agreed. So what I have to do here is go back into my attributes. And then under phone number, notice it says home here. I'm just going to change this to main because it has to be called something to differentiate. So I can do the same with email address. Okay. And then regular address.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go back into my form list, and you'll notice that these will all be updated on this subscribe template.
Okay. Pardon me.
Main, main, and main. Can you think of any other pieces of information you might want to grab on the individuals?
Name, email. That's the basic contact information.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything like title or anything.
So would you want the title to be part of their profile, or would you want that to just be in the form?
I guess it isn't really that important. So long as they have a first name. I don't care what they do as long as they pay the bill.
I mean, you can add some more personal information. Like I usually see title. I'm trying to think what other things I also normally see. Wondering if I have another.
You could put title in as a text field not required, but we got to require the address, email, and phone though.
Okay. So I can come down here and say title. So we can just make these required by selecting these fields. And now this one's a little different. Instead of it being a toggle, I have a drop down where I can make it required.
Okay.
Same thing for email and same thing for phone.
Okay. There we go.
Accounts. I'm trying to think who had a really good membership application form. I think Tachi had a really good membership application form that was similar. Tachi. We can think on it. We can definitely make any changes to this that we need to. Like, you can definitely come in here and play around, and if you want to start playing around with those other forms, then we can look at them together.
Okay.
And, I mean, do you feel like you have a pretty basic understanding of how to add the different form elements?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. If you want to
Sure.
change...
It'll be a little bit of a learning curve. I'll fiddle around with it, but I'll I'll figure it out.
Okay, awesome. The main thing is it's just form settings, so things for the general form are under form settings.
Okay.
Adding elements, that's the second tab. Adding any element to a form is going to be under add form elements. And then element properties, that's like if I want to change something about what I just added, I would select that form field, and it's going to bring me to element properties. And that's a fancy way of saying like form field properties.
Okay.
So this is just settings and elements of that specific field on the form, and we can update that as well right in here.
So now, okay. So once it's published, it can still be edited. So if I publish it, I look at it and say, I got that totally backwards, I can go back in and change it.
Exactly. Now, the second that a piece of information is tied to like title, we can't edit that field anymore.
Right.
So just make sure if you get in there and you're playing around, don't submit any forms.
Don't submit them. Okay.
Right. Until all of the forms look exactly the way we want them to look.
In other words, don't do anything that a real subscriber would do.
Right.
Okay.
We can go ahead and turn on the summary by adding the summary fields and selecting all. So now that summary section's on. And then everything else we've kind of already peeked at. So then the only other thing that I wanted to point out is you can subscribe or you can take the form. You can once, like if you have somebody who's like, hey, I really want to be a member, and they just maybe don't understand how to use your website or something, you can sign them up and you can take the form on behalf of them.
Okay.
So like I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to proceed as a new profile, and I'm going to make a test account for myself. And I'll delete this before you launch. And I can proceed as a new profile. And then it's going to bring up the form, and we're still waiting on this design. I really wish this was up. I would select, so I can select from one of these 4 member types. And then it's going to begin asking me questions, and look, it showed me how much I owe and when my expiration date is.
Okay.
Isn't that cool?
That's nice. So if I'd have to have a third name, I leave in there as I wanted to, correct?
Say that one more time. You broke up a little.
When you were selecting a couple of screens ago, you had a drop down that had me, Michelle, and a blank.
Mm-hmm.
You could add, I could add in a name for someone who's doing, for anyone else, right? Who could do remote, who would do, make a sentence, Leo, who could submit an application for someone.
That's exactly right. And when we get members in there, all of your members will show up in that little area.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
So if there's an event that comes up, you can even go through this process and almost like you're assuming their profile, and you can take a form on behalf of them for one of your subscribers.
Okay, but
as an ASA.
If it's an initial subscription, I'd have to do it. How would I do that? if somebody called up and said, "Can I subscribe?" and I went to the website, could I fill in a form for them?
You would do it just the way I did it. So you would, you know how I created a test account? Instead of saying test, you would put in their name.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then at this point, you'll see all of those fields and the asterisks making them
Right.
required. And then once we fill, it's not going to let me fill out. Go next. This should have.
Is there validation on these? Does the system validate it and say that's not, that, you didn't put in enough numbers for the phone, or your zip code doesn't match your state or something like that?
I don't know how in depth it is, but yes, it does.
Okay.
See, like I put in A's and it didn't take it. So now what I can do is come down here, and then it's going to ask for the individual's name, and then we can create a linked profile from here. And now it's going to give me, we have self, which is me, and then we have a linked profile that we can fill out, create linked profile.
Okay.
So we can create as many linked profiles as we want.
Okay. Ah, okay. Oh, I see. That's those extra lines came in. Okay.
Right. And it would just ask me to fill that out. And then from here, I would go to next. Oh, it won't let me. Delete. 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 Goodness gracious. Let's see. Now I should be able to go next, and it's going to give me a summary section.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
And I can go next, and it's just going to prompt me to pay.
Okay.
But I'm going to go back because I don't want this to be able to. I don't want to submit it.
The bill from.
That's right. And that's all I've got. So the biggest thing is like kind of just deciding what fields you want in here, and I definitely would recommend you or urge you to come in here and kind of play around, because I think that's the best way to learn, and then just kind of add in some fields as you go. And if you think of something else that you want to collect on all your members, and you want it to save in their profile, you can just write it down and let me know, and I can add it in as a custom attribute. Or if you want to give it a stab, you can try to add it as a custom attribute. And then maybe on our next call, we can review all of these fields together.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm looking something up here before I let you go, because I want to make sure that I have a very important little piece of information, which is how I get in here. Where did I put it? I don't have it any place. Okay. So you're going to go off and do your thing today. I want to go back in here and fiddle with these forms. How do I get here?
Absolutely. So I just came to forms.
No, I mean, how do I get? I just go to memberclicks.com. And
I should have sent you, and I can resend it to you if you want.
I think you did, which I, of course, left in my email someplace.
If you search MAH, and I'm just going to show you. I have this follow-up from database. Did I send it in this one? I did. So if you follow up from database MAH, and then come down here to the bottom, these are your login credentials, and this is the link that you'll use.
Okay. So I go. Okay. So I'm looking over here to make sure I had the email. So how did you get to that screen?
This is my email.
Oh, that's your email. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm sharing my email with you just to show you where.
Okay, so I got that information. So now I just go to MemberClicks, and then there's the login screen?
Yep, so you'll click on this link that's right in this email that I provided you, and it's going to give you a login screen, and you're going to use these login credentials. And I went ahead and set your password as all caps MAH, but you can update this to anything you want.
Okay.
Okay? If you give it a try and it just doesn't work, don't hesitate to let me know.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Awesome. Well, I'm going to wrap up this recording.